What's the biggest mistake people make at the grocery store when they're buying produce?
Buying the cheapest thing, being helpful in tough situations. The stories of Jazz Tales, it's automatic if you learn it as a kid.
What's something about our food system that most people have no idea about?
The amount of...
Today we're excited to be joined by someone who's been with Jazz Tales from the very beginning. His name is Darren Knapp. Hello, Darren. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks, Greg.
You have many things going on in your life. When I first met you and when you first joined the orchestra, the Heart of Carolina Jazz Orchestra, you joined it's over 20 years ago because we've been around for about 30 plus years now. And so when you joined us, we had you playing alto, and then at one point we needed a baritone, so you switched over to baritone, and you've been playing the baritone sax ever since. Along with playing with us, we're a volunteer group. We meet like once a week. You have had a professional life. I knew you were a professor of alcohol studies at UNC. And then you transferred to some other positions, and then eventually you left. But all along you were farming. We have you in the orchestra, but you're also a farmer. It's so great to have you on the show today, Darren.
I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for the invite, y'all.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So before we dive into your story, Darren, I have to ask you, what's one thing most people are doing wrong when it comes to buying or eating vegetables?
Oh, my goodness. I think perhaps the biggest thing is not buying organic. Certified organic. I'm biased.
Why is that so important?
A level of inspection and scrutiny of the food that we feel surpasses most of the food that's out there.
Quick question about tomatoes. Should they be in the fridge or is it okay out of the fridge?
Oh, my. Best out of the fridge, perhaps, if you want to get them ripened at the right time, but you can slow that down by putting them in the fridge for a bit. But they lose some flavor when you do that.
I love tomatoes, so I had to ask. Let's back up a little because I think people are going to be fascinated by your journey. One of my favorite things about Jazz Tales is the people it brings together. As Greg mentioned, you're a professor at the greatest university of all time, UNC. And today we're sitting here because of Jazz Tales. How did your journey lead you from teaching at UNC to farming and performing?
Both I and my wife were in the medical field in a fashion, she in pharmaceuticals and I in the med school, of course. And all the while we were there, we were thinking about health and wellness, health and wellness, health and wellness. That's what we do. But we realized that it didn't all seem to be coming from the medical world, from the pharmaceutical world. And we realized that food was so important. And so in thinking about food in a broader sense, thinking about health and wellness in a broader sense, and we naturally began thinking about food and farming, and in our natural distrust of the big food system was an issue for us as well. And so we added the farming dimension and eventually it became our full-time thing in due course.
Well, most people will just see a problem and just complain about it. But I love how you and your wife were like, here's the problem. Let's see what we can do to help fix it.
Exactly.
So is that how Ramble Real got started?
What got us started was a backyard gardening project, I suppose. We were interested in, as I said, this health and wellness for ourselves, eating well and all of that. And so we grew as much as we could on our little piece of land around our house. And we began going to farmers markets from that sort of growing, and we had fun with that. And eventually we realized we were growing stuff on every square foot of our little house land. And we said, well, if we could just get some more land, we could scale up and have a bona fide farm. So we did all that. It's a gardening project went wild.
Yeah. That's cool. So what would you say, Darren, that if you could give one tip to maybe the casual gardener, what would you say?
Prepare. Talk to a farmer. Don't go with all the hype that's out there in the big box stores. This is how you must grow your garden. This is how you must grow your food. You don't need a lot of extra stuff. Use the native soil and make it better and grow in it. Raised beds are fine, but I would say I would maybe err on the side of using native soil and making that soil better. That's really important, the soil.
That's a good tip. So what do you think is the most or the hype that's out there? You mentioned that. So I'm guessing soil, a certain type of soil that helps your garden grow even better.
Yeah, you hear everything out there in the advertisements and marketing world, like, oh, you have to buy this bagged soil. You have to buy this product. You have to buy that poison. You have to buy. And the reality is, if you know a farmer and you have some seeds, you'll probably go a long way just doing that.
That's good. That's encouraging to hear, Darren.
I think the thing that Darren brings up, he's always got a big picture of everything. I mean, yeah, I'm fine with my garden, and I've got Good tomatoes too, if you want some. Darren and Jane, I was actually pretty amazed that Darren was still working as a professor. And Jane, she was writing for this medical journal. And then she quit. And I'm like, how could you quit a good job like that to be a farmer? She had an idea of growing organic food, I think. And I'm sure that you had it all planned out, but it seemed like without her thinking about this big project of how, hey, we're going to provide organic food for lots of people. And then, then eventually Darren, leaves his job too. And they both get into this big enterprise. And I mean, Trinity, you've got to see the farm. I mean,
I need to.
I mean, they've got it down to a science.
But Darren, like Greg mentioned about you and Jane having the vision, what do you think stops a lot of people from vision to actually doing something?
I think the best example comes from young people who want to farm. There are some great young farmers out there, but so many that wanted to be farmers couldn't find land. And as you know, in the Triangle area, and even somewhat beyond the Triangle area now, the land prices are so high. These people are young in their professional lives. It's not like they've put away a lot of money that they can go spend on tens of thousands of dollars per an acre of land. So that's a really big barrier to getting new people into farming. It's finances is a real big one. And there are some ways to mitigate that though.
What are some ways?
Oh, there's some grants out there that can help with startups. There are grants that are dedicated to young people, to women farmers, to underrepresented farmers. It depends on who you are, what your vision is, but there are some resources out there. And then there are, of course, lots of farming support organizations out there that are full of advice that will end up saving you money in the long run and help you get your farming operation going better.
I had no idea. That is so cool to know. Speaking about your farm, what would visitors experience if they came out for the day?
It's a certified organic farm. That means a lot to us. It means we get inspected to make sure we're doing things really well. People that come out to the farm will see us growing vegetables, fruits, nuts. We have chicken eggs. We have a lot of other things going on. We have an online store and an in-person store. People may also jump into an educational experience of some kind. We have workshops for adults. We have a forest school out of the European forest school concept where we have the kids come out, their parents come out and get to see that, homeschool kids as well. We have now in our portfolio of things we can do, forest bathing experiences. Some people call it forest therapy. Jane and I are both certified to do that sort of thing. So people may experience that. It's a couple of hours in the woods in a guided fashion with a very specific intent. And been a lot of fun to add that dimension to our farm. We have goats, which are freaking adorable. And people love to come and they get curated goat visits with me, things like that. We also have monthly open farm days. We're doing one here every first Saturday of the month. We call them Saturday slowdowns, where people can come and shop, talk to vendors. They can walk the farm trails. They can see what we're growing. They can bring a picnic, sit around, do nothing, which we highly endorse. Relax, slow down, and leave their phones off, which we also wholeheartedly endorse.
That is so cool. Now, I'm curious about the therapy though. You said, what did you call it again?
You'll hear it said two ways: forest bathing, like art therapy or music therapy, or we call it is forest therapy. But if it's forest bathing, it's not necessarily for a specific therapeutic purpose, but it has some of the same effects. Being out in the woods, focusing on your senses, turning off your other life, all that kind of stuff for 2 full hours. And it's really fun to watch people just eventually, over the course of an hour or two, drop in with you, drop into nature, and everything else melts away for a while. It's very therapeutic, whether you are clinically diagnosed with something or not.
It reminds me of what we call in the counseling world grounding, where you just try to be in the now, be in the moment. So I feel like that's right up that, the same alley as that.
You hit spot on. That is something we emphasize up front in the walk. We try to get everybody grounded and connected.
I love that. That is so cool. What does a typical day for you look like though? Are you up like at the crack of dawn?
Yeah, right. Before that. So we're up between 5 and 6 a.m. pretty much every day. We call it a day somewhere after 9, except when I'm at Greg's Heart of Carolina jazz rehearsals. And that's a little later because I drive. We have, administrative stuff to do pretty much every morning before the sun comes up. And then we have the animals take precedence after that. Our goats and chickens need tended to. We have anything going on from like getting our growing beds ship shape, weeded. We might be repairing something, seeding, growing, watering, planting, harvesting. It just goes on and on. It's just the two of us, except for major projects. Except for major projects like building a barn from scratch, which I have no idea how to do. Turns out one of our bandmates built our barn.
That's right.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. We do a lot of talking with customers, working the social media angle. We run workshops and retreats, so on. So it's like a lifestyle, 7 days a week.
That is so cool. And I love that you and Jane do it together. That is so cool. Power couple.
Yeah. Power farmers.
That's right.
Now, can I ask you a question about you and Jane? Very similar people. You don't always marry somebody that's just like yourself.
That's true. And we certainly didn't.
Okay. So you have differences.
There's all kinds of things. Her strengths are different than mine. We put them together. I'm the
That's
like
so
on the
cool.
farm anyway. I'm the CTO, which means I'm the chief tractor operator. Jane doesn't want to take that one on.
Right.
When it comes to writing narratives and putting together communications, that's something I can do, but I would rather Jane do it because she's so awesome at it. I'm a little more extrovert. She's a little more introvert. So yeah, we have lots of parallels and
Okay.
lots of differences.
It's a great team, whatever it is. It's working.
Thank you.
I looked at your website and you have a Wendell Berry quote about caring for the earth. The care of the earth is our most ancient and worthy, and after all, our most pleasing responsibility. To cherish what remains of it and to foster its renewal is our only hope. Why is that philosophy such an important guide for you?
Wendell Berry is the inspiration for our farm. He's the Kentucky farmer, award-winning author, poet, all those things. What he espouses is something we've embraced, named our trail after him, one of them, as you say. Caring for the land and soil, it means is like taking care of the land with intimacy and great affection. How's that sound? You have to think about it that way. It's not just something we walk on and get stuck on our shoes. It's one of the most precious resources on earth. And any farmer that doesn't get that shouldn't be farming. Tragically, look at the size of the triangle as it grows from 1 million to 2 to 3 million, and it takes up space. It just Pac-Mans all the farmland. And once it's gone, it's gone. There's pollution, so-called development. It just doesn't stop. So that's something that we literally put our money where our mouth is, drew a line in the sand, said, not here. Our 28 acres is not going to be developed. Our 28 acres is in a permanent easement to protect it forever. And that's how strongly we feel about it. You really can't take full story of the value of soil into account until you think about bad farming, because there's lots of bad farming. The big farms are using poisons galore with genetically modified crops and alternation year after year after year after year, destroying the soils, environmental degradation, and it's a food system nightmare. We said, no, we're not going to grow that way. We're not going to be a part of that fake farming. We're going to be real farmers, and it's all based on the soil. So we do everything we can to build soil, to make it alive, more alive. It took nature thousands of years to build, and it takes one bad rainstorm and a bad farmer to have it end up in the Jordan Lake. And that's the crisis we face with loss of farmland in North Carolina and around the country. So we try to speed up the soil making business a little bit to help that very much alive, living thing that it is produce our food and the very lives we depend on.
What's one thing listeners can do, one practical thing they can do to help?
I think one of the biggest things in that space is to buy local, work with local farmers, find out what they're doing, make friends with them. You never know how generous and supportive they'll be for your health and wellness. Show up, go to your farmer's market. Everybody in the triangle's got one or two of them within a reasonably quick trip. Progressively use raw materials like fresh tomatoes, as opposed to a canned something or other, to help build your meal plans around. It takes time to relearn how to eat in this world. I think it's just a slow grind. There's no one thing. Just come up with recipes that can readily be created from local food.
Are there any recipes that maybe you and your wife have developed, or some favorite things that come through your kitchen?
One of the things that's most fun about what we're doing is the people who have engaged us. They said, this is what I did with your food. Here's the recipe. And we have a woman, we call her Amy T. We put her in our newsletter. She sends us a recipe almost every week. And we put it in our newsletter. We don't have to write it. We don't have to create it. So that's even better. And it's community. So we dig that a lot, so to speak. We put those recipes in the newsletter. We have a long list of them. I'll be happy to send them all to you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
That's awesome.
Simple and doable and tasty. So
yeah, love that.
I just realized another thing about Darren, that he was also an actor. Did you know
What?
that? Trinity?
Darren, you did not. When I asked you to do the one commercial, you were like, no, I'm good. You should have been in that, Darren. Had I known that, I would have been like, yeah, Darren, you're doing it for sure.
I don't know how much he's doing now, though, Trinity. There was a phase, right, Darren?
It was that post-retirement, my post-retirement find myself a little bit sort of way. I wanted to get in the theater, so I did a little training and did a little gig in a musical, a little bit of singing, a little bit of acting.
And where does this talent for music? I mean, does it go back to high school?
Probably goes back to about 3 months into the womb.
Whoa.
Mom took me to church when I was in the womb, and I'm sure I heard sounds by the time I got to 9 months. I'm not joking. I mean, as a neuroscientist, babies hear this stuff. No, I mean, I was in the church and I could hear chord structures resolve at the end of a song, burned into my brain. So every time I heard where music was going, I could tell what's happening. I could tell we're about 3 measures from ending. And in jazz, of course, that's the thing. Everybody knows where the music's going. But I felt that as a baby, as a toddler in church. And so I carried that all the way through the usual elementary school stuff and the junior high school bands and high school jazz band, and then on to grad school. Took a break from
Cool.
it all. Got back into it with Greg.
So you stopped playing for how long? All through graduate school, you said?
All through grad school.
You were kind of busy then, so understandable.
Yeah, that was true. Trying to get my degree, and I sacrificed the music. I wish I hadn't, but that's okay. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of acting advice you've gotten?
Make sure you take the time to get into character, because you'll look like you're not in character if you start out cold.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
On stage, it was fun to watch, more experienced actors heading off into the corner. They're staring into the corner. I want to ask them, "Are you okay?" Like, no, they're getting in character. So I was pretty novice, but I learned a lot.
In farming, music, everything seems like two different worlds. How are they actually more similar than people might think?
Hard work. I think Greg will be the first one to tell you that. And lifelong learning. I've watched Greg grow and change from 92 onward. I didn't miss the first years. I didn't get the first years, Greg, but I did get from 92 onward.
Oh, you've been, wow,
the
that's
jazz,
right near the beginning. Yeah.
Jazz repertory orchestra and all that stuff. That's where I got introduced to the jazz scene around here. And then eventually Greg. It was in 1994, 32 years ago when I joined you.
Whoa. All right.
So it takes a lot of creativity, and that's pretty exciting for both, I think. Farming's an art. It's a science, and it's a grand social opportunity. So is music, right?
I love that.
You might not often think about it, but there's mathematical relationships. I'm a science geek behind it all. Mathematical relationships, or maybe better said, patterns in music, chord structures and sounds. Of course, the opportunity to improvise is inherent in music, even classical music of old, but jazz music now, of course. Improvising and farming, you better know how, or you're not going to stay in it. Because things are going to go wrong. The rain's going to wipe you out, and you got to figure out what are you going to do now. Your plan is trash. That's a big thing. You learn to adapt on the fly a lot. You create beauty in the world you might not have even seen coming, but you did it. Greg, don't you get surprised sometimes when you say, "Hey, that solo I just did was pretty cool," and you go, "I didn't fully think that's going to happen that way." It was a creativity on the fly.
That's where you get to live in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Living in the moment. There's a great one. I didn't think of that, Greg. Living in the moment is
It
so.
doesn't always happen,
No,
it
doesn't.
doesn't. Rarely happens, to tell you the truth. It's hard to be in that state when you got so many other things on your mind. And you're like, hey, I wonder if that was any good, or maybe I should have done this. But sometimes you just get it, and you're like, hey, I feel satisfied because I was there.
Yeah, right. Farming music tells stories about humanity, right? And the better side of it, in my opinion.
Some people believe if they talk to their plants, they grow, get stronger, they're better. What do you think? What's your take on that?
Yeah, that I've not done any of that research myself. I stuck with the biomedical side of things for humans and so on when I was in research. There's some pretty fancy and fascinating research being done on plants right now. And it's been going on for a while. They do respond to vibrations. They have communications or languages that they use to tell each other about threats in the environment. I didn't know that. But I do now.
Really? How does that work?
So they have chemicals that are called phytoncides that they release into the air. Like, what pine trees smell like, right?
Sure.
If you go into a pine forest, we're in a pine forest. That's because of a chemical called pinene. And that wafts off into the air, and not just for no reason. It's there as part of their immune system. It's a communication device. Other things that the plants release to each other in the air tell them that, I'm being chewed on by a bug. Beware. Put up your defenses. It's not English language. It is language nonetheless. They communicate underground with all the root systems, tree to tree to tree to tree. In fact, some other trees will tell other trees in the neighborhood, don't grow here. I want my babies to grow here. So I'm going to put out chemicals that prevent your seeds from growing.
Oh my!
Wow, they're territorial.
This is territorial. This is the mama bear plant.
All right, Trinity. Here you go. It's a new book. I see the new story, new characters, trees.
Instead of Mama Bear, Mama Tree. Mama Tree.
So there's lots of examples like that. They have electrical signals that didn't know what they meant, but the whole network of tree roots for a whole acre can be communicating on the same electrical frequencies. It's pretty amazing stuff. And who knows where the sky's the limit. You have to ask the question sometimes, are these plants conscious? What's going on here? But it is fascinating. They're a lot older than we are.
So they don't speak English, but do they speak the language of music?
Back to your original point about do they hear the things that people say? There are some research saying that plants show physiological responses to the sounds of the human voice. What it means, I don't know. It's okay to just love on them anyway, even if it's not like fully understood in the way in which we think.
What do you think about the immense variety of plants and flowers?
The world around us is complicated. The weather systems, water systems, the drought places, the rainforests, and the plants adapted to those places, and they had to do certain things and be certain things and have certain capabilities to live there, or they're dead.
Yeah.
And so, a tropical plant's different than a desert plant for those kind of reasons. And since the world is so complicated, that plants seem to match.
God is creative, a lot of variety.
Inspiring. Awesome. That's what it is.
Yes, it is.
You've played alongside Darren for years, since the
Yeah.
90s. What's something you've always admired about him as a musician?
We just recorded Jazz Tales Continued in the studio. And that's a pretty serious situation. You're getting recorded. Your part, it's going to be there for everybody to hear. I thought Darren really did a great job. I've been listening, and Darren, really nice work.
Thank you.
Really nice work. I guess I'm lucky. I don't ever hear any critiques about the way I'm leading things or music I'm choosing or anything. Well, certainly Darren's never had 1 ounce of criticism that I've known. So that's been a pleasure. That's nice, Darren. Appreciate that. Darren is very helpful when it comes to the operations of the orchestra. Never said no to anything. Been president, and now he's going to be treasurer. He's a board member. He always has great ideas. A real pleasure to have Darren in the group.
Darren, you're just awesome all around.
Well, apparently. I mean, it's amazing that I am in this band at all. There's so much that's happened over the years with this group. It's incredible talent that's come in. Some have stayed a long time, some short.
Yeah.
But so many fabulous players, some well-known in the area that stuck with us for a while. I just feel lucky to have been a part of it at all, ever, given the level of talent that's for a community group, especially. There's a lot of professional folks that come in and really enlighten us and inspire us.
You know that you are one of the few, or the only band member, I think, that's been at every single Jazz Tales performance.
Is that
so
right?
I feel like that is huge. That's awesome. You've been sticking with us the whole entire time.
Right. We do
So you
have
need an
a
award there.
revolving cast of people sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, but Darren's been there for every single one.
Which means he has to get away from his farming, and we appreciate that.
So Darren, what has it been like watching the project grow from the very beginning, the very first Temple Theater grand premiere?
I mean, it's been a real hoot. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's inspiring. That's what I think of it. Seeing the kids' faces, seeing them can't help themselves and they've got to move a little bit. Seeing those kids at one of the Raleigh schools. It was a leadership elementary school. I'd never heard of such a thing. Those kids came. They introduced you. They introduced Greg. They introduced the band. There's like elementary kids. And then they were so well versed, I guess, or rehearsed and asking their questions. I'm in so-and-so's class and I want to ask you this question. I thought that was really awesome. And kudos to the teachers who did that. But all the programs, all the schools that we've visited have been different. It's a lot of different students from different backgrounds. And I got to see that in action. You see how the kids react to the show. And it's got a universality to it, which I thought has clearly become apparent over time. When I saw that was working and there were funding opportunities that were, accessible and you kept getting interest in more and more schools. And I felt, I wonder what the next version of this is going to be. And then all of a sudden there was. So, watching that happen has been a real joy. And I mean, now I see a whole book with 14 chapters, but that's just me talking. So being able to watch it from the beginning, from the first time Greg introduced it to the band at a rehearsal, like, here's this idea. I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. You mentioned who you were and Trinity Bursey. Oh, I know that name. I'm confident I know that name. And yeah, we were at UNC at the same time. So famous basketball player, become book author. That's cool. Tell me more. So that I got to go through that phase as well of learning to see the show and our impressions of it.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about how far we've come. Is there a Jazz Tales moment that really stayed with you, like a kid interaction or a certain crowd reaction that's really stuck with you?
I think it was the kids, the ones that couldn't help themselves but dance. I mean, I just, they've got to move, and that's really cool. I think that's one of them. I think the kids doing that show in Raleigh, or being at that show in Raleigh where they were participating, the ones that were engaging as if they were part of the show, like you or Greg, who are the band or the music, the digital animation, the kids were part of the show as well. It's a fabulous added dimension to the show.
They love that for sure. So both Ramble Roll and Jazz Tales create memorable experiences for children. Why do these experiences matter for kids?
The young mind is very, very flexible. Very, very important age, this very young age of kids. And whether they're learning manners or whether they're learning music or whether they're learning whatever it is, cooperation, friendliness, helpfulness. There's no time in life better than the youngest age is to see that happening then, because it will become lifelong at that point. If you don't really get locked in on those things until you're 30, it's not going to be the same. So the stories of Jazz Tales and the stories of being helpful, cooperating for better group effect, community effect, being helpful in tough situations, it's automatic if you learn it as a kid. When you get older, it's automatic. I must do something. I must act a certain way. The kids are the most important thing. And here at the Longleaf Forest School, the kids are out in nature. We're fully corrupting them in nature. Okay? Nature is a beautiful teacher. Here, the kids, they are 3 to 6 years old. They're out in nature. They're driving the show. Their brains are going where they want to go. They're looking at things. They're testing things. They're smelling things. They're tasting things. They're building things. They're not told to do that. 80% of the students' day is self-directed, and then teachers watch. And whatever that kid identifies with, that becomes part of a curriculum for them later on. It's the opposite of public school.
Interesting.
And so, at least some opposition, I guess, to public school. And so, and the kids go through to, by the time they get ready for kindergarten, they're in a different place. And that wouldn't happen if I started at 25 and did that until I was 30.
True.
That was my grad school years. That's a different thing.
And what is that type of teaching called, where you see what they gravitate toward and you help them develop?
Well, it's student directed. Mathematically, it's about an 80-20 split between teacher driven content versus student driven content. You say, well, how can a 3-year-old drive their content? Well, they don't do it the same way a 16-year-old does or a college student does, but they do gravitate to things, and they have the freedom and time to explore until they go on to something else. All these things are being taken, notes of, and so on. And
That's
then
cool.
they go back and build something in an artful direction or a scientific direction, a literary direction, and then they get into the science a little bit. Yep, at that age.
That's
They learned how to extract dyes from natural plants the other day, and they use it to
Wow.
stain T-shirts.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What kind of plants?
Oh, indigo was one they extracted the dye from, and then they stained their
That's
shirts
cool.
and stuff, and then they had some new cool thing to wear. The coolest
That's
kid
really
in
neat.
kindergarten when they get there.
That's really cool, Darren. Wow. Are there any upcoming projects or events you're especially excited about?
Well, yeah, I mean, the one tomorrow in this case is going to be August 1st, 2026, is our monthly gathering of the public at our open market, open farm and market day. And it's just a place for a community to gather. And we never know exactly what's going to happen, but that's the point. We don't want to drive it completely. They can shop, they can do this, they can do that. We've had music here before, and some fun people play. Greg has been here.
Mhm.
The Heart of Carolina has played in our barn. It's a big barn, but it's a small space for a big band.
It's loud.
It was loud.
Huh. I love how your farm is so like jazz-esque, where in jazz you can ad lib and jump in. I love how your farm is like, hey, just kind of go with the flow, kind of go with what interests you. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's informed, inspired decision making in the face of challenge, I guess. Somebody starts playing a lick, and you're supposed to figure out where they are, right, Greg? Or
Right.
how can I compliment that? How can I? Wait a minute. Okay, I got it. Well, that's how it works in farming.
So we got a few rapid fire questions for you. You ready, Darren?
Okay, yep, fire them.
Favorite vegetable to grow?
I would say sweet potatoes. It's great nutrition. It wants to live. It wants to grow. You don't have to do as much with them as so many other things. It doesn't want to be a burden. It just says, I'm going to make 2,000 pounds of sweet potatoes in a 60 by 60 block. Thank you very much, Mr. Sweet Potato. I also have to say I like kohlrabi too, because it's a weird plant.
What
it's
is? Which one?
Kohlrabi. Germans love it.
Kohlrabi?
Kohlrabi. I think kohlrabi. It's kind of it looks like an alien mothership. So it's funny to look at.
What?
That's the only reason why. It's a neutral
That's why
flavor.
you like it.
Crunchy, and it's an alien mothership, and so that's why I like that one also.
I'll be looking that one up as soon as we get off.
Yep.
Right. I've never had that.
Me neither.
Mm.
Okay, favorite season on the farm?
It's tough because there's something really interesting going on all the time, but it is the spring abundance. You get those first rows in the spring, you worry about frost, but otherwise it's like, I know what this is going to look like in 3 or 4 weeks. I know what it's going to look like come May, June, July, and it's going to be fabulous. So you think about spring as a launch pad for all that.
Mhm.
Sure, that makes sense. Chickens or goats?
Okay. Goats. Don't,
Goats.
don't tell that to the chickens.
I won't. Look, lips are sealed.
Okay.
A sunrise or sunset?
So I guess sunset. The colors are pretty awesome. The clouds when they
That's
come
true.
over, the sun dips over there behind the trees and the clouds. It's a fun thing to see.
Nice.
Mhm.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Okay.
Favorite instrument besides the sax?
Oh, I noodled around with bass guitar for a while, and I really enjoyed that.
Oh,
Mm.
And
nice.
I was never going to become a big slap player, but I thought it was a whole lot of fun to play, mostly bluegrass kind of stuff.
Favorite Jazz Tales character?
Lyric, of course.
Of course, that's the obvious answer. One word to describe Jazz Tales.
Inspired.
Inspired. That's a good one. One word to describe Ramble Real Farm.
Integrity.
Integrity. Love it.
Mm.
Where did you come up with the name for Ramble Real?
The word rill is not commonly heard. You might see some people call it a ditch. But in Europe, and at least in the British Isles, rill was an intermittent stream. And so we have an intermittent stream out here, and it rambles across the farm. So we just mashed those words together. It wasn't
Nice.
complicated. What was cool about it, though, was we wanted a name that nobody else had in the country.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the
Ah.
domain name, and I wanted the website name, and I wanted
Yeah.
and I found like 35 windflower farms, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Although we have windflowers here, and I was going to name it that, but we wanted
Yeah.
a name that, despite its slight awkwardness, was unique to us.
I love that. That's cool. That's creative.
Yeah. So it's an English word, rill.
Archaic.
Archaic English. Oh, that's interesting. Mhm.
Nice. What's something about our food system that most people have no idea about?
The amount of poisons that
Mm.
were used to grow that food.
Ooh,
And how much of it are we ingesting?
And how much of it we are ingesting is a corollary, correct?
Oh boy.
man. So that's why organic is so important.
Yeah, and organic doesn't mean there's no support added to the growing process.
Yeah.
For us, it does. We don't use anything. We don't use even things that are approved for organic use. We don't
Wow.
we do natural growing, but it's just a whole lighter stamp on the earth and a stamp on the food that you eat across your life.
What's the biggest mistake people make at the grocery store when they're buying produce?
Buying the cheapest thing, because it usually means it's cheap for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
What about on sale today?
Well, that usually means it's probably a little old.
Yep. I've learned that lesson.
I just bought it. It's already moldy. What?
I mean,
Yeah.
the thing about that with a small farm like ours or any of the other small farms around here is that if somebody has a sale, it probably just means it's peak season and they have tons
That's
of the
true.
stuff.
Well, that's true too.
Whereas if it's in the grocery store, I hate to be biased, I think it's just they got to move this stuff off the shelves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the same problem sort of applies to the farmer around us, but it really is a matter of it's blueberry season, so the prices are going to come down.
Yeah.
Sure. That
If you want
makes
to buy
sense.
blueberries in December and buy them from across the ocean, well, they might be a little more expensive.
Right.
You should be eaten seasonally and locally anyway, so you wouldn't have to worry about that Chilean
Eat
blueberry. Anyway.
seasonally and locally. Yeah.
That's right.
Between cooking and raw, do you ever think about what is better raw?
That's a great question, Greg,
Mhm.
because everybody assumes one thing is better than the other, and the answer is all of the things
Yeah.
are better. What I mean by that, if you look at nutritional profiles of food,
Yeah.
those nutritional profiles change some when they're cooked,
Right.
raw, or steamed or roasted. The flavor profiles are one thing, but the nutritional profiles are another. Some things are best eaten raw, and
Yeah.
honestly, some things are best probably cooked. I mean, even if they could be eaten raw because of the nutritional profiles.
What about mushrooms, for instance?
So most of those, that's kind of a special case because the
Mhm.
mushrooms, probably all of them should be eaten cooked. Even the ones that are normally eaten, like shiitakes, like we grow, and some of the other ones you see on pizzas in the pizza shops and so on, they're all cooked.
Mm-hmm.
They're all cooked. And for some people, they can cause, kind of an irritated tummy reaction if they're not cooked.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it is that's doing that is quickly dispatched by cooking.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now I've seen people eat raw potatoes.
Yeah, I used to do that as a kid. I'd put a little
Oh, my
salt on a
goodness.
raw potato.
I don't think I could do that either. Ugh.
I just love that. But I don't know of any harm in that one.
Yeah. Okay.
I know
And
my grandpa, he could eat onions raw. Ugh.
Ooh.
I love onions, but I just can't go and eat it like an apple.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some people put the onions are fresh right on their salad, you know.
I can do that, but just
Oh
I can't
yeah.
eat it like, an apple.
Yeah.
Just can't do that.
But I think as far as the nutritional profile of food is concerned, check each thing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, do I have to check everything? No, you don't. But it wouldn't hurt to say, well, look, kohlrabi's best eaten raw, or
Let me ask you another
peppers are
question. I'm
best
sorry to
eaten
jump
cooked.
in. What do you think about a strict vegetarian diet? That somebody who could somebody just live off of your farm and be healthy?
They can do a pretty good job because we have protein, carbo, and fat
Mhm.
on this farm. I wouldn't say we could feed the community because that's a big job. But you get oils from here, you get fats from there. We have chicken eggs; those are in the vegetarian realm, as close as you can
Yeah.
get to animal meat, right? Um, but vegetarians today, like perhaps never in history, have so many choices
Yes.
to
That's
get all
true.
their food groups, to get all their amino acids, to get all their vitamins, all their minerals. It is eminently doable.
Mhm.
And veganism is a little bit more challenging. It too can be done. It used to be vitamin deficiency were starting to happen in people that went vegan, and now that's not as big a deal.
Mhm.
So the vegetarians are well equipped around this area triangle and many other places, and you don't have to go buy packaged food either. This is
Mhm.
farmer stuff.
Favorite fruit, and then one fruit you cannot stand.
And I'm going to go with blueberries as my
Mm.
favorite because that season just
Mm.
ended, and I have good soft memories of it. I've eaten
Mhm.
yogurt every morning for the past month and a half.
Mhm.
As far as something that I actually absolutely hate, boy, that is tough on the fruit front. How about a
Mhm.
sour apple? I mean,
Okay.
you find them in the store sometimes, and I'm like, oh, let them ripen a little bit, people. So
Yeah.
that's not my best choice if they give me time.
What about you,
Yeah.
Greg?
Strawberries.
And
Always
one you
like
can't stand?
if you bite into something it's not it doesn't have any flavor to it. Yeah, I don't like of course
Wow.
nobody likes that.
I must be a picky eater. I would say my favorite might be pineapples, maybe.
Oh,
And
that's a good
then
one.
one that I cannot stand, bananas. Doesn't matter if they're ripe, anything. Banana
Mm.
pudding, banana bread, flavor, cannot stand it.
Uh-oh. I don't know what you're
Now we know.
you
Yeah.
got some problem there, Trinity.
And it's really bad though, because if you try to eat healthy, most of the things they tell you to substitute sugar for is banana. They're like, throw it in
Mhm.
a smoothie. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't stand
Mhm.
it. When people look back on your life years from now, what do you hope those say you helped grow?
It would be that we grew community,
Mm.
Mhm.
and the university was one of those ways. My music in the heart of Carolina is one. Our farm is another. Building networks of interconnected support systems. I would love to think that people would look back on me and say, "That's what I grew."
Mhm.
That's awesome. I'm sure they say it now.
Yeah, I think so too. You are developing a community and
Mhm.
that's not something that just comes naturally. I don't think it comes naturally to anybody. I think you've just got to have a mission. And I think you and Jane decided you wanted to do that and you have done it and you're doing it.
And I
I do.
agree with that community because it could have been easy for you and Jane to say, oh, we're just going to do this for ourselves. We're going to
Mhm.
grow for ourselves and just worry about ourselves. But the fact that you want to open that up to the community, you want to educate people, you care about children and how they learn, that just speaks volumes to you both.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure a lot of people will remember what you've done. Yeah, a
Mhm.
lot of kids.
Thank you so much, Darren, for joining us on our podcast. We so appreciate it. And I'm sure our viewers learned so much from you. And how can they get in contact with you or stay up to date about all things Ramble Real?
Yeah. You can find us on the web. That's probably the best way. The website's there, and there you can find our store, and there you can connect
Mhm.
with Jane, who takes care of those kind of inquiries. If you want to be on an email list, all those sorts of things you can get to through our website, one way or the other.
Perfect. And can they find you on social media too?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram, Ramble
Awesome.
Rail.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Darren. We appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Darren.
very much for the invitation to be here today. It was totally enjoyable.